Dr. Marcia of Move with Marcia, and let's talk about back pain. So your back hurts. Time has not healed it. Your issues will persist. You tried to rest, you went back to whatever you're doing, and ouch. What do you do about it? Well, step one of any back pain problem, regardless of the cause, is examine your environment and what you're doing, right? So do you have a manual job? How are your body mechanics when you're lifting? Do you have children? Are you always carrying them on one hip? Do you have dogs? Are you always combing and grooming them and you kneel down only on one leg? Little things like that can add up over time. And also, obviously, when you're exercising, paying attention to the form and how you're doing things. But honestly, even if you are an elite athlete, powerlifter, amazing handstand, calisthenics, whatever it is that you're doing, but every time you drive, you put your left foot up on the dash, you might have a problem later on because you're making an imbalance. Does that make sense? So step one, please examine your environment. What are you doing? What could you be doing better? Two, stabilize your core. And I mean that in the most boring, standard, basic way possible. Understand how to brace, squeeze these muscles here, breathe, and hold your spine stable. So that means working on bracing by itself, pelvic tilts. That means laying on the ground, going through dead bugs, Sarman exercises, bird dogs. I'll link all of those below. And really nailing those basics that your body stays where you want it to stay on purpose, and then moving on and adding anti-rotation, rotation exercises, compound lifts, and that sort of thing. Always, always going to be your important next step. Nail the basics of engaging your core and understanding when your spine is set up for success. And that carries over from, again, exercises to daily stuff as well. Third step, it's going to be stretch whatever is tight and strengthen whatever's weak. So if you have tight hips, yeah, that can contribute to your back pain. If you had a knee injury on your right leg and you start walking a little funky, guess what? That travels up. That's gonna affect your back pain. If you have a limb difference and you don't really pay attention to one entire side of your body and everything's only on one side, you might end up with some back pain. You have scoliosis, you could or could not have back pain. There are people living with scoliosis and thriving. So that by itself is not necessarily a pain sentence. So I do want you to keep that in mind. Other things that are important when it comes to trying to figure out what to stretch and what to strengthen is understanding the difference between mobility, flexibility, and strengthening. Like, what are the different words? What does it mean? So I will link a video for that as well below so you can understand what that means. Do you have an unstable joint? Do you have a stiff joint? Do you have an inflexible muscle? Do you have a hypermobile joint? These are words that you have to understand when you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I get what's weak stronger, what's stiff more flexible? And those are pretty much the 3 steps to getting some sort of success when it comes to your back pain. Now, there is a caveat. There are a few things where it's like, okay, these are the set things you have to do. Well, not have to. These are the set things that I would suggest you do to get better, and that is when it comes to a disc herniation. We're talking McKenzie method, prone press-ups. If you have sciatica down the front or back, the back of your leg, or you have nerve pain down the front of your leg, then you really focus on centralizing that nerve so that that disc is sucked back in, and you're doing extension and avoiding anything that's knees to chest for a couple of weeks until you get steady. Then you'll work on your bird dogs and your bracing. Then you'll work on the rest. So that's a little different for that case. And also, leg length discrepancies will be a little bit different because if it's significant enough, then you actually need a lift or an insert in your shoe to level it out. You can't stretch that away if that's just the way that your bone structure is. Some of us are just set up that way. It's really not a huge deal. As long as you understand that no body's perfect, all bodies are different, you don't have to get in a tizzy about it. So how do you know if your legs are different lengths and big enough of a difference that you need a lift? Well, see a physical therapist or you can try seeing a podiatrist. Those are pretty good options. Hopefully that makes sense. You've got your 3 steps to achieving some sort of back pain relief. Tons of links below. Of course, if you have questions about any of it, comments, concerns, drop them. Otherwise, I'll catch you on the next upload. I'm out.